Welcome back to today's episode of Impact Schools podcast. Now, 2020 has been crazy. Everyone knows that by now. And despite all odds, the guests that I have on the show today have managed to achieve bigger things than ever in the past 12 months. And that didn't happen by chance. That happened because they have discipline. They have patience, they have perseverance, and they have the ability to say they're going to do something and follow through with it. And with 2021 right around the corner, or even whenever you're listening back to this, whenever you set a goal and you have the hope and the dream of actually fulfilling on it and getting through to the other side, it's very easy just to be all talk and not to go after the things that you want. So with that said, I wanted to bring these guests on so that they can share with you the truth about how they're actually able to get their success. Because you can have all the strategies in the world, you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't have the mindset to follow through and actually get it done, then you're not going to be getting anywhere. And so I wanted to start off by saying that our clients of Impact School on this episode are the people who inspired the Impact 7 challenge. So go to theimpact7.com, not the number 7, but the word 7, sign up, and we're doing a free challenge that's going to allow you to hit your goals once and for all. There's no upsells, nothing like that. Go over there and sign up. So I wanted to first of all start with everyone sort of introducing themselves and also going over your biggest win of the year 2020. So Katerina, I know before we hit record, you were pretty keen to get going. So tell us your impact statement, what it is that you do, who you serve, and then also what you feel like was your biggest win.
Right. So, hi everyone. I'm Katerina Sakoshek. I'm from South Africa, and I'm French. And so I help artists eliminate self-doubt and master social media so they can turn their art into their income. And I've been, adapting my impact statement or my impact offer as I go, because obviously I'm always speaking to artists and figured out what they actually need. And so my biggest win in 2020 has definitely been the fact that I've managed to give my clients, well, obviously I'm a client of Impact School, who I was, and the fact that I can give, well, my clients are getting results thanks to me. So it's kind of like a tumbleweed effect, or it's like a positive vicious cycle where my one of my clients has just sent off a massive commission to one of her clients. So it's difficult to explain, but I love how thanks to you, I managed to help someone else who managed to help someone else. So that's just a little bit about me, and that's definitely been my biggest win. And just Impact School has allowed me to really have structure to what I do, and has taught me so much. It's just opened me to a world that I knew was there, but it just something I thought that wasn't possible for me. Not to sound cliche, but I never thought it was really possible for me to have my own business. I've always wanted my own business since I was 12. And I've been in the different, jobs and careers, but nothing's been a waste, and everything's kind of led up to this point. And I think Impact School just helped me really solidify that and combine everything that I'm good at. And the fact that I can help other people, people who were in my position a few years ago, is just so rewarding. And
Yeah, that's awesome, Katerina. And let's just talk about one thing that you mentioned there, right? You mentioned how your impact statement is constantly changing. And that is the power of taking that messy action. Just getting started with something and then using the market reaction to go ahead and reiterate. Basically using real world examples. And that is the beauty and the power of actually going out there and just starting on something when it's not perfect, when it's not yet ready, because it's allowed you to then begin that domino effect of you changing a client's life who then has the success in their life, and so on and so forth. So thank you for sharing that. And with that said, I want to move on to Steve next. Now, Steve, obviously you had a beautiful baby this year. So if I'm honest, like that has to be the win in the craziness of the whole COVID lockdowns first happening. I remember speaking to you walking along the streets of Oxford Circus with not a single other person inside, which was crazy. But other than that, I mean, what do you feel has been a big accomplishment for you?
Yeah, it's been a pretty huge year during the year where we've had a 1 in 100 year pandemic. I also had to change country for a few months, have a baby, find a place to live, and take my entire business online. So I used to run in-person coaching sessions and in-person workshops. And by the time it was February, March, and I would have like 20 people in the room, and there'd be someone who's like, yeah, I'm a pilot, so I've just got back from China. And you'd be like, is this a great idea that we're all in the room with someone who's just come back from China? The pandemic was starting to gather speed. And so literally, I had to move everything to the UK. I had to turn my workshops into online workshops. And now since then, I have turned it into online courses. So I didn't have to be there. I run my whole business off a laptop. And that means that like I can be with my clients when I need to, and I can also be with my baby boy. And I've learned to function with like very little sleep, which forces you to be more efficient. You know, like I actually love I love taking messy action. Like I think that's the way that I work best, is to give myself a big fat deadline and then move mountains to get it done. So a bit of context, I help expats to take back control of their finances by planning, saving, and investing, and to avoid getting scammed by the many scammers that are out there. And so what I've been able to do is really kind of expand my mission. You know, one of the advantages of not doing an in-person course in Dubai is that then you can reach people all over the world, which has been really amazing. And that's totally in line with my mission. And a couple of the things that I did, looking back on it, you know, when my kid was like 2 months old, I don't quite know how I pulled this off, but I did a 4-day challenge online, and a lot of it was through the systems that I learned from Impact School. So if you're going to do a challenge, you've got to have the online platform, you've got to have the emailing system, you've got to tie it all together so that you know, I had like 500 people going through this challenge, and I can't like individually connect them to the course. You know, you have to have everything automated, and then you have to have your sales off the back of it. And I was generating each day's of content the day before, and it was absolutely insane, but I did it. And so by the time I came to pull my course completely online, it's 15 hours long, my course, and I made it online. I knew exactly what I was doing because I'd done this challenge through your help. So yeah, I think taking messy action is by far the best way to actually get things done, especially if you're not such a grinder. You know, if you're not the person who can be efficient 24/7, then giving yourself a deadline, a short deadline, and just making it happen really focuses the mind.
And that's the power of accountability, and then also the self-discipline and that side of things, which we will get into in a little bit. And that's one of the things that with Impact 7 Challenge we're really going to help people with. But Steve is seriously underplaying himself right now. Okay, so let me just give you some context. So firstly, he's not lying about the scamming. I got scammed the other day, Steve. I still need to tell you about that. It was actually an apartment situation. However, I will explain that to you at a later date, or even maybe like make a piece of content about it because it's kind of funny. But we could even do one for your stuff to show the dangers of the people in Dubai. But anyway, so the second thing is, so literally anyone you speak to who mentions anything to do with index funds or anything to do with financial advice, I'll say something like, oh, I have a client called Steve. They're like, Steve Cronin. Everyone in Dubai knows who he is. And they're always like, oh, he was on the radio earlier this morning. It's so funny. So now he's obviously able to reach more people, serve more people, and yeah, super grateful to have got connected with you, Steve. So next up, I want to move over to the total other side of the world and bounce over to Charmaine. So Charmaine was working, I think it was 2.5 jobs earlier this year, and her husband was also full-time employed, and Charmaine's achieved some pretty crazy things, but I want her to go for the biggest win. What would you say that one is? And tell people what you do, Charmaine.
So I'm a registered dietitian. I help people reverse type 2 diabetes with plant-based eating. And I would say, well, my biggest one, I think it's starting my own business, because I always felt like, before I didn't really see myself as an entrepreneur, but I always had this feeling I don't want to be working for somebody else's dream my whole life, right? So that's, I think starting my own thing was the biggest win. And it's amazing because, within a couple months with Impact School, my husband was able to quit his job. I was able to quit my job as well. So it's very exciting. Now we're both working at home. We got new puppies, so it's definitely very exciting. But yeah, I think what's most amazing that is me being able to help people get results. What's exciting is that so far everyone in my program are able to get results as long as they do what I say, right? But it's very exciting to see, they have type 2 diabetes, but they can be eating a lot of carbohydrates, but still lowering their blood sugar. So I would say that is one of the biggest win as well for me.
I absolutely love that. Oh my gosh, your puppy is so cute. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
So adorable, right? So I'm gonna flip over to someone who's in a similar type of industry to you, which is Connor, also in the world of the plant-based. So Connor, I remember again, I was walking in Battersea Park this time, and we had our first call. And it was literally at the beginning of COVID. I'm pretty sure I was still jet lagged from flying back to Mexico super last minute. And so I'd love for you to sort of tell people what you do and what do you feel like you achieved that was a major success despite everything that was going on in the world.
Yeah. So this year for everyone has just been so mad. But I always had the vision that this year I was going to take what I'm doing online in some way. Like I knew that I was going to be doing that, but I just didn't know how. And I'd been following you for so long and other people and thinking, okay, how am I going to take these things online? Like, what am I going to do? And then I just kind of committed to myself in January that I was going to take my business online. And this was before the pandemic, before anything. So it's really weird, like divine timing of everything being forced. So I was doing one-to-one personal training. And I just opened up a fitness studio of my own. But I opened it up thinking, okay, I can film some online courses in here, and then the real future of my business is online. But I wasn't yet doing that at all, like making £0 per month from online coaching. And then, like Lauren said, right at the start of the first lockdown period, I started with Impact School. And I think my biggest win has just been committing to what I'm doing and not just taking the easy option of always saying, oh, I could just do more one-to-one Zoom PT sessions, or I could just go and do other work. Because I've missed out on so much income this year because of not doing that. But I've made so much more from all of the income from online coaching that I never had before. So I think I had to change my mindset from like what I could be doing. Like I could earn a couple of extra grand a month in my previous job of PT work, but like that's never going to serve me, and that's not getting me where I want to be, and it's not scalable. Whereas I'm in a place now where my online coaching business, which, I haven't even said yet, but yeah, it's all about teaching people using body weight training and calisthenics, how to drop fat, learn skills, and, promote better health, with a plant-based diet. But also that has now transitioned to kind of a second impact offer of mindset coaching and life coaching, and that, removing people's limiting beliefs, all that kind of stuff. And I only would have figured that out from my first impact offer and realizing that people are saying to me, you know what, man, like you should really just do the mindset stuff. Like you're way better at that than the calisthenics coaching. And I thought, well, why don't I do both? And now I've built out a team that help facilitate both of those offers simultaneously. So like while we're on this call, I know that I've got another call going on with one of my team members with a client of mine. And that's awesome because, I'm just able to, scale out a business that is actually so simple with all the systems in place. So I think for me, my biggest win is not, what I've achieved financially, because I know that will always, never fulfill me. But I think just having an impact on so many more people in a way that is not taking my entire life, like Steve said, I go hard for 2 weeks and I don't speak to anyone and I do 20-hour days building out a challenge. And then I don't think about that for the next 6 months because it's doing its, it's running itself because the systems are just set in place, and then you can scale those things with ads. And I have just had very short bursts of intense work this year, and then a lot of time to chill in between and do more reading and all that other good stuff. So yeah, I think my biggest win from this year is just like committing to myself by investing earlier in the year to work, on myself and to work with Impact School, and then just to have the systems in place. That's what has allowed me ultimately to help so many more people, which is amazing.
That's awesome. And it's that incredible feeling when you know that the impact of your business is more than just you, right? And that's incredible that your team member is now able to serve clients while you're here. And then this is going to serve more people. And then there's just this huge ripple effect like we started off this conversation with. So Valentina, I just want to jump over to you now. You've been waiting there patiently. And so regarding you, what is it that you do and what's your biggest win?
So I am a designer turned software engineer. So I've been working as a coder, I code. And the person that I was within my network is that people would come to me for like freelance work or to help them teach them how to code, because learning how to code is challenging, it sucks, it's frustrating, and lots of people quit. But because I represented someone that is on the other side, people would still come to me. And that was my impact offer. Like my biggest dream was always to build my business. And I've been binge consuming content since I was 17. And now I'm 24. So thankfully I started Impact School like a few weeks before turning 24. So I was so grateful. Like, okay, this has been done, like done. And so my impact, what I offer is that I help graphic designers or designers, but they're mostly graphic designers, upskill their work, get higher paying clients, and bring their work to the next level within the digital space. But essentially what I teach them to do is I teach them how to code. My biggest win has been to build my business, because that has always been my dream. So it's been getting clients, because that's what marked me setting up my business. And but also I've been completely amazed by the transformation that has happened to me, because right before that I was almost entering a depression, like an empty space, and I didn't know what to do anymore with my life. Even if I had just gotten a new job, like I have a history of like getting jobs and quitting jobs very fast, and it had become kind of like my game because I was bored. And and also because my biggest dream has always been to start a business, but because that wasn't happening, my game had become quitting jobs in corporations to get a new one. And but I was kind of like giving up on this dream. It's always been it. And I think like the transformation, what that did to me was realizing how like my own personal belief of my worth, and how I could, like me saying, oh, I'm not good enough to help someone, was actually a massive disservice to anyone that I could have helped. And now I'm seeing that, as everybody was saying, like the impact statement is always changing. Also because I've just spent a week just like producing so much content that I'm so like tired of coding, that I realized like this is just the first Lego brick of what I'm actually doing. Like, okay, I'm handing them like an actual skill, but there's so much that happens in the design space within like limiting beliefs that I am seeing. Not just in like which is like with everyone, but I just see it so much in the design world of people like not charging enough and all these things that will shape like whatever I'll create next.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that I want to touch upon a little later in this conversation, limiting beliefs. And then also something that Connor brought up was always choosing the hardest option. Those are two things that I want to for sure talk about. But Diane has just joined us.
Hi, I'm Diane. I'm a registered osteopath. And I guess I would say I'm an online back coach now, which is really nice to say because I wasn't before joining Impact School. And I think my biggest win, I won't even say it's the sales that I've had to kind of endure and just, getting clients. I think it's just finding myself throughout Impact School. So before meeting the whole team at Impact School, I didn't think I could scale online. I was limiting myself to just treating each patient 30 minutes to 45 minutes weekly. And there was a whole plethora of people that I was just kind of missing out on. And so Impact School just made me realize I was limiting myself, and it just made me realize how much bigger I could go. So within like 4 weeks, I made my first client, fully paid. And it's just, I feel like every week I'm learning new things. Like I actually feel most confident as an osteopath right now, and I've been doing it for 10 years, than I have when I first started. So I guess it's not just about the sales, it's about the confidence it gives you. I think it's about just, nothing is unreachable. Nothing is like unattainable. It's something that you can just keep on progressing and keep on growing. And so that's what I think the biggest win when it comes to impact school is.
Amazing. And so what you just said there, Diane, is exactly what I think this is all about. It's those limiting beliefs. And it always makes me wonder why some people are able to break free from those limiting beliefs. Because we don't just see this with our clients, but you see this with your clients, as Valentina alluded to. So I don't think that this conversation needs to be like, hey, you go, you go, you go, you go. But anyone who has anything to say when it comes to crushing limiting beliefs, what do you feel has been the thing that's allowed you to actually go and do that, as well as potentially allowing your clients to do that?
Lauren, I do want to jump in here because I remember you spoke, I don't know if it was on a podcast or something, where you compared fitness to business and, pushing past the resistance of, or when you lift weights, obviously you're pushing, you're doing one more rep, that the one extra rep might make all the difference. And I think with business, I've really learned so far that it is sometimes about sending that one extra message or, just doing that one extra thing, even though you really don't want to, even though you're tired. And it's not necessarily like going against the grain, because sometimes I think it is a bit of a push and a pull. Sometimes you do work extra hard for, as Connor was saying, like you go all in for like a week or two, and then there's a bit of, you step back and then people kind of come to you. So it does work that way sometimes. But for me, I've definitely been able to apply, lifting weights and just other sports I've been involved, I've done. Like I used to be a show jumper. I used to be in equestrian sports, and just the fear, like I think thanks to that, because you're working with fear the whole time, because it can be really scary. And I think it's allowed me, all those experiences have allowed me to kind of push past the fear, push past the resistance, and push past all the failures and the no's and the setbacks. And I think it's really allowed me to kind of, as I said, push past that and kind of find results. So yeah, it's about that one extra rep, that one extra action that you do, even though you don't really want to do it in that moment, but you kind of think about the long-term benefit. You think about your tomorrow, So yeah.
Yeah, no, what I was going to add to the end of that is just that I think this is very important to believe, obviously to believe in yourself that you can do something. That's one thing, but that is going to come from your environment, like foremost over many other things. Who you surround yourself with, the content you're consuming, who you're looking at, what you're reading. I think all of those things impact a lot, don't they, as to like you believing in yourself that you can do things. And I think if you're surrounding yourself with people, influences, TV shows, whatever it might be, podcasts that are, not motivating you or making you feel like you should just settle for what you have, then you're never going to push yourself to like that top 10%. Whereas I think, something that's super powerful about, working, in this kind of setting, either with Impact School or, just surrounding yourself with the right people within whatever discipline you're trying to get into, I think you are then seeing things that are tangibly possible, and you can actually realize, all right, well, this is doable for me. If this person is making X income, I see it's possible. If this person has achieved this, physically with their body, and I want to look like that, it's possible. And there are always going to be different paths to get there. But I think a lot of people get stuck in their own head when they think, they're not worthy of something because they're not in a place where anyone in their immediate circle has achieved that. So whether that's at school, in a dead-end job, people that aren't inspiring them, and you have to break that circle. And I think no one is ever going to put the hand out to you and say like, oh yeah, just come over here and we'll take you. And sometimes the opportunities do show themselves, but you have to find those gaps in the circle and jump out. And it's like not being afraid to move away from your friends at school that aren't serving you. And it doesn't mean you can't have them in your life, but there are certain people in your life that are not pushing you to be the best version of yourself. And you need to find those people and go after them, because I think that, that's what's definitely helped me to achieve a lot more and do way more things that I wanted to do, just pushing myself out of my comfort zone and then finding people that are actually doing the things you want to do. Because if you can't see them, then you don't know what's possible for you.
Wait, so Connor, you're telling me that no one's coming to save me?
No one's given you the golden ticket. No, I'm afraid not.
Yeah, Steve, what were we going to say there?
Well, I agree. I think accountability is huge. You have to surround yourself with people who are going to motivate you, because you've only got a limited amount of willpower to bash through walls, and you've only got a limited amount of discipline, to be honest. So you really just have to understand yourself. Like, firstly, it's okay to have limiting beliefs. We're all human. You have to understand what those limited beliefs are, and not just the symptoms of them. The symptoms might be you're being listless, you're too scared to get on the phone, you're too scared to send that extra email, you're worried about pestering people. But one thing that will make you send that email is accountability. I actually have lain in bed at night thinking about Lauren, not in that way, but actually thinking like, God, if I don't get this done, then I've got to kind of report on what I've achieved this week, and she's going to be pretty not impressed if I don't do this thing. And so that's actually led to some sleepless nights where I was like, why didn't I get that done or whatever? But this accountability is really, really good, and then being accountable to people who have achieved more than you. I think Tim Ferriss was saying that if you want to get good at a sport, you should have a person who is better than you, and a person who is on your same level, and a person who is not as good as you are. And you can definitely apply that to business. You need to have some mentors. You need to have a community of people who are going through the same stuff that you are. And then you should also, frankly, have someone that you can teach this stuff to, so that it gets clear in your head, and you can be crystal clear on what it is, why you're actually doing it and what it is that you're actually doing.
Yeah, and it also grounds you. It grounds you to like make you realize that you're actually worthy, and like you've achieved some stuff, and because I think if you never have anybody like below you who hasn't yet achieved that thing, if you teach the same things you've just learned a month ago, that's going to reinforce them in your own head, and you're also serving and helping others too, which is just like a win-win. But go ahead,
I wanted to say, since we're talking about you are like the people that you surround yourself with, and that's your environment is going to shape what's happening. And because we're saying this in the year of physical solitude, I can't think of a better time that I could have been able to do this, because even though I have a job, like I don't have to show up there, and I can decide, okay, well, like whatever I have to deliver for them doesn't have to be done today. So today, even though it's a working day, I'm just going to work on Impact School, and I'm going to like do everything I have to do. But I wouldn't be able to do this if I had to show up in an office. And I also can limit even more the people that I am going to surround myself with, which is nobody but Impact School, because I'm in my room. That's great.
Yeah, I love that. And so what we talked about here was accountability with others, which I think is so powerful. That's why I'm really excited to just foster our community and continue to grow it, and continue to have everyone support one another and get to know each other and do things like this, which is so powerful. But at the same time, self-accountability is critical. Now, one of the things that's included in the Impact 7 challenge, which I do every single day, is my morning journaling, right? Whereby I write down, I will look back on today and I'll be proud that and then I list out 3 things. One of the 3 is I gave my all to all that I did. And then I basically list a few different things with a little square next to it and a rating out of 10, so that I can come back in the evening and answer, well, basically just rate myself out of 10, right? So one of the examples could be my team. Another one of the examples could be my training. If I had a really good session in the gym that day and I absolutely killed it, then I might put a 9.5, There's always room for improvement, but you see what I'm saying. So that's one of the things that I do. Now, I want to know what you guys do. The different things in your day that you feel contribute to your success in both your personal and your business. So whoever wants to go first, please just go for it.
Firstly, leaving your phone downstairs when you're trying to do some work. This is so huge. And you feel so much better if you put your bloody phone away. You feel like this release. I mean, it can be a real addiction. I've had to deal with phone addiction. And I'm so much more creative and disciplined and driven when I put the phone down. It's absolutely incredible. And the second thing I would say is like getting enough sleep. Like you're going to be absolutely useless if you don't get enough sleep. And so like what I've realized is that like with a small child, I need to be in bed by 9 p.m., which is so foreign to me as a bit of a like night owl. But I feel so much better. And like today, for example, I got like an insane amount of sleep, and I'm actually really, really productive. You can feel it. So you have to force yourself to do these things, right? The discipline of eating properly, the discipline of sleeping properly. Like no one cares if you're a busy entrepreneur, right? Your clients don't care. You're like, oh, sorry, I don't have the answer to your question because I didn't sleep last night. It's like, well, why am I paying you for today's session? Like you can't have those excuses. So you've got to look after yourself first and have that discipline before you have any kind of discipline in business, I would say.
Yeah, and we have a lot of fitness people in this crowd right here today. So Diane, how about you? What's something that you do?
Well, since starting Impact School and filling in the typical day in the life, I realized how jacked up my days were. So essentially, I used to be a night owl. I'm currently shifting that as well. So apart from journaling, I write down like, I guess a diary as it were, as in what I want to get done in the day. Because I want to spend time with my kids. I obviously want to do my outreach. I obviously want to do my Facebook ads. I want to give my all to the current clients I have. So I find now I found a space early in the morning from 6 o'clock where I will actually plan my day. I never used to do that before, and that's probably why my days were so hit and miss, but that has made a huge difference. I'm able to give some time to my kids as well as working on my business. So that's one of the most biggest things I think I've achieved with Impact School.
Yeah. And let's just quickly talk about that for a second. You mentioned how you realized how jacked up your day was. That was your words, right? Something like that. And so here's the thing, right? I think so often we aren't even aware of the things that we're doing to ourselves that is causing problems, right? And so what did you do? Do you want to go through the exercise so that our listeners can do the same?
Okay, so what you guys did, you sent me this like template of a typical day in the life from when you wake up to when you sleep, right? And I realized I was probably spending less than an hour with my husband without the kids. I realized that, kind of time for yourself, reflecting and just reading the book, non-existent. I realized like a lot of the time was either given to kids or on the laptop, barely eating, maybe one meal a day, possibly, because I'm trying to get everything done and I feel like there was no more hours in the day to do it. So essentially, we've hired a nanny, thank God, because, sorry, we spoke about this as well, because I felt like my child is 4 and I've got a 1-year-old. And so, yeah, then they fight and it's just, you can't get anything done. So essentially, I block out time in the day for kids. I block out time in the day for following up to emails, checking in on clients, making sure everyone's good, doing my email campaigns and all that kind of stuff. I've set up Connected. I'm so proud of that because that was something that was on my to-do list for like 2 days. And so there's just these automations that make things so much more easier. And so when I hit my next ball like part, I can kind of say, okay, let me get someone else in to take some of the load away. But really filling out that day in the life, and I get my clients to do it now as well, because it was so informative. I was just like, how have I continued to live my life like this? Like literally no hours in the day to even watch a movie with my husband or just go out for dinner. It was unacceptable. So thank you guys for that. I needed that.
That's awesome. Isn't self-awareness so crazy? I mean, sometimes we just coast through life without even knowing these things. And so one thing that I wanted to pose to all of you here, because all of you follow through and do the things that you say you're going to do, right? And so what I want to know is when, let's just say there's something on your calendar or that you've blocked in as a unit of work that needs to get done, but you don't want to do it and you don't feel like doing it. What do you do at that moment? How do you get through that?
I think this is like the comparison of how the business relates to fitness really comes into play, because when you're doing a workout, sometimes you really don't want to and it really sucks, and you might do it and for an hour everything's kind of like bad, but at least you did it and something got done, and 30 minutes in you might then have the motivation to keep going. And I think this is like it. But what I have found, because I'm a huge Tim Ferriss fan, but even so, like when I was doing Impact School, like everything was I was so like stressed out, during 1 week. And so Matthew told me like just every morning, just like select 3 things that you are gonna do. And I created a board where I'm limited to only writing the top 3 things that I have to do. And because I only have 3 things in my mind, everything always gets done, which didn't happen before. I don't have to like relocate it because I just know every day that I only have 3 things that I have to do, and everything else is kind of like side things.
I love this quote that says, entrepreneurship is living a few years of your life like most people won't, so you can spend the rest of your life like most people can't. And I love that because I think there's moments that, I don't know, like there's all these like funnels, there's all these ads, but I know that once I get them done, it's done. Like I don't have to, do another thing. So I think really just, I know it's cliche, but just really, picking up yourself and doing it is, and thinking about, okay, what life can I achieve, like what big picture can I achieve after doing this thing that I really don't want to do, but I know it's good for me. So I would say that.
Yeah, and the things that you're talking about, setting up the Facebook ads and setting up the funnel, and then once it's done, sort of brings me onto something which is kind of a way in which you can look at this in your personal life. It's when you make that decision once and then it sets up all your future decisions. So it removes any potential for decision fatigue. So if you say, I'm going to go to the gym every Monday through Friday, then if it's a Thursday night and you've stayed up way too late, you know that you already made the decision in the past that you're going to go to the gym the next day. You know what I mean? And so that's sort of like a tandem in which a great example is I made a decision personally about probably 5 years ago now that I won't hit snooze. Snooze isn't even it's just not even part of my life. Like it just isn't a thing. And so I've never hit snooze ever since then. And so I made that decision once and now I don't need to think about it again. Connor, what were you about to say?
No, all I was going to say about, just the whole keeping yourself motivated to do things that are uncomfortable. Like one thing that really helps me is like, I think that especially entrepreneurs fit into this category, often looking to the future more so than anything else. Like I'm doing this for X, or I'm doing this because one day I'll be here. And, everything, many other teachings tell us like, oh, we got to be present, we got to enjoy each day. And that's really hard when you have such ambitious goals. Like you're not ever going to be content. But what I think is a good way to combat that, for me, that's worked really well, is looking at the small things I have achieved that are on the way to those bigger markers and using that to motivate the continued discipline. So if you have one particularly amazing testimonial, don't just gloss over that, like really read that or really watch that video or listen to that conversation and feel it in your heart and know that like your impact is causing that, and that's not through anyone else's discipline, that's yours. And I think if you can own those moments where your business is going really well, then on the days where shit hits the fan, stuff goes wrong, okay, well look, I was able to achieve this in such a short space of time before, or over this many years of studying or whatever, you can do anything in the future. So yeah, for me, I think, I know it's the last point, but I just think, yeah, if you're wanting to stay disciplined and do uncomfortable things, you have to be really, reflective of things you've already achieved, because you will have already achieved so much. And if you only ever put yourself down, like that doesn't last forever. And the material things that you're lusting after are not going to serve you, so you have to look at the things you've already achieved while also staying hungry for everything. Hope that made sense.
I just want to add something on there quick. So Lauren, your question was, how do you motivate yourself to still do something when you've set it up, but you don't really want to? And as a creative, I find it so difficult to have that discipline and to have that structure sometimes, because I'm always like, my imagination is always going wild. But one quote that came to mind was, be strict about your goals, but flexible about your methods. So I think it's okay to counter what some of you guys said, but even though I still agree, is that I think it's okay to sometimes swap things around. If you still have the end goal in your mind, what you want, I think it's okay to also assess your energy levels. Like with art making, I can't force myself to make an artwork, right? So sometimes I think to myself, okay, I'm in the mood to do this, so I will set this up I can do it at a later stage, and it has to be done by this date. And if I still don't feel like doing it, then I'll force myself. But right now, I'm more in the mood to, I don't know, write a long caption about this and to finish this artwork. And then tomorrow I'll work on outreach, for instance. So I think it's okay to sometimes be flexible in that way. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know if you agree or not.
I mean, isn't that so cool though? It's all about knowing yourself and knowing your personality type, but then still getting it done, right? Now, one thing that Connor mentioned just a moment ago, when we were getting started, is about not always taking the easier option. So as Katerina just said, you know, sometimes you need to change the way in which you're going to get to that goal, but you're still going to get to that goal. And when it comes to building mental toughness, if you're the type of person that can't follow through, then it probably makes sense just to stick to what you are always going to do, even if there would be an easier way to get to the outcome, because you need to build up that mental toughness and perseverance. But Connor, do you want to just quickly talk to that a little more as to what you meant by that?
Yeah, say the thing I said again.
So you mentioned something to do with not always taking the easiest option, right? It's very easy just to sort of like say, oh, well, I'll just do it tomorrow. And today I'm just going to, you know, send some messages on Instagram instead, because that's easy. Same thing in the gym. It's like, oh, well, I've worked out really hard already. I don't need to do 10 more burpees. You know, personally, I always, if something is really going to be difficult, I will always pick the thing that's always going to be more difficult than the other thing, even if both of them will get me the same result. Maybe I'm just a bit of a masochist, but I know that I'm getting the added benefit of building the mental toughness when I do the thing that's going to be harder, right? Yeah. And so, I mean, because I know you, Connor, I know that you have this type of personality too. So I think it would just be interesting to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah. No, so I think, you know, when you show yourself so many times in a row that you chose to do something that wasn't the easy option and it paid off for you, that can then just reinforce the belief that that was worth doing. And the more times you do that, it's this self-fulfilling cycle of just realizing that every time you chose to take, you know, the road less traveled, or the option in your head of not hitting snooze versus the other thing, you know, you had an extra 20 minutes at the gym or whatever else, and that compounded to everything else that was amazing that happened in your day. I personally used those moments to reflect on and think, well, if it wasn't for me making that decision, these 5 other things wouldn't have happened. And I think that's when it starts becoming easier to make those tough calls all the time. And if you weren't doing these reflective exercises like journaling and keeping yourself accountable with other coaches and all these other things, then you're never going to give yourself time to realize if you're doing this or not. So I think that's another reason why keeping yourself accountable and journaling and having these other systems in place is so amazing, because it gives you a chance to highlight weakness and realize, okay, maybe I didn't take all of these hard decisions today, and I maybe coasted a little bit more, or I took the chill option, or I spent a few more hours watching Netflix than I should have. Like, whatever it is, I think if you can start taking the harder option, and it definitely does pull back to fitness, like 100%. If you're not, you know, getting yourself sweaty or pushing yourself physically, not every day, but enough, then it's very hard to feel this. Or having had an experience in the past where you really had to push yourself, and that will then anchor your belief of like, okay, now I know I'm worthy to push myself when it gets really tough. But yeah, I think just the reflection of it is key. Noticing when you've done it in the past and what that allowed you to achieve. And then thinking, you know, when you're at a crossroads, well, if I take the easy option, am I likely to achieve what I achieved last week when I got up at 5 a.m., not 6? Probably not. So yeah, I think that's what really helps me.
That's so true, isn't it? And so many people say that they don't feel confident enough to do this. I don't feel confident enough to build my own online business. Of course you don't feel confident. When you say that you're going to be sleeping by 11 and the next thing you know, it's 3 a.m, or you say, I'm not going to have an extra cookie, and next thing you know, you've had the whole tub. Of course you're not going to feel confident, because you can't follow through on the things that you said you were going to, you know.
It's hard. It's one thing, I think, if you start by doing something that's too overly ambitious, you can kind of fool yourself into thinking that you could never achieve it. So it is about, you know, I hate the word, you know, achievable or like whatever, but you do have to set targets and prove to yourself that you can do something. So by doing small wins, when you're trying to build any kind of habit, if you do something that's you're biting off too much at once, it can leave you feeling unfulfilled because you didn't achieve that hugely ambitious goal. But I think if you can prove to yourself, like you said, that you can not eat all the biscuits in the jar or whatever it is, that can help you realize, okay, I'll build up some momentum here if I just keep doing these small things.
So true. And that's what Impact 7 Challenge is all about, theimpact7.com, to build up those little things that will remind you of your past success. And Steve, what were you about to say there?
I was just going to talk about consistency. I think it's really important. If you want to deadlift 300 kilograms or whatever, you don't try and do it by deadlifting 300 kilograms every day, right? You work up to it, but you do it every damn day. That's the important thing. So if you're terrified of getting on the phone or on LinkedIn and reaching out to people, you just do it every single day. Or if you're trying to be creative, like you set a time or you make sure that every day for an hour, you're looking at that blank piece of paper or whatever, and it doesn't matter what comes out. It's much more important that you have done the reps and got something out. And over time, even if you get no clients by phoning, or reaching out to people for like 4 weeks, you will have a very long list of excuses that they gave you. You'll know exactly where you're going wrong. And then you can go to a mentor or whatever and say, like, what's the problem? Whereas if you haven't phoned anybody, you won't be anywhere. So that consistency in all areas of your life is, I think, and breaking everything down into those small parts, that is what is going to make you get so further. And then when you look back on 2020 or whenever it is, like, you will have achieved so much, even if it doesn't feel like it. There's just one other thing that I wanted to add, which is that I think, we all have bad days. And when you're running your own business, those days can feel really, really bad because you're tired and exhausted anyway. If you get a letter from a client or an email from a client saying thank you, print it out and stick it on the wall or put it on your phone as your phone screen or something, because those little moments where the client says thank you they're so powerful. And those things will get you through those days where you just think, actually, I am a useless entrepreneur. We all have it, right? I am actually not as good as I thought I was, and everybody hates me. And why am I doing this? Just read that message saying, thank you so much for all your help. That will get you through.
That is so true. That is absolutely so true. And also having that awareness that you are the type of person who is able to follow through on your actions and the things that you say you're going to do. That's one of the most powerful things. I mean, look, even this now, everything that you guys have said has been so fulfilling and rewarding to me. I came on here, I felt so rough. I have not felt well today at all, but I feel amazing right now. I feel like so great. And that's what is beautiful about this. But also one of the reasons why I was able to persevere through my work today is because I know how disappointed in myself I'm going to feel if I don't do it. I will literally feel 10 times worse if I don't actually go there and show up, because then I'll be like, oh, Lauren, you didn't do that thing, and that feeling, there's nothing worse. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I completely agree. And that's the thing, again, with working out, like, if you work out, you are guaranteed that you're going to feel incredible. And you're going to feel incredible for not only the rest of the day, but also for the next 2 days, depending on how many times you work out. So that's like where the discipline comes in, because like, okay, I feel terrible now, but in like 45 minutes, I will feel the best ever. And that's the same thing with like getting a task done or anything. Like even if, like, right now, for example, I was feeling terrible. So I was like, I'm going to do 100 like jump squats, but I was so bad. I was literally like holding my hands, praying, like holding my head up. I don't know. It was really, really bad and weird, but at least something got done. And now I feel great and I can like get stuff done for the next like 6 hours. I don't know.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so what are some sort of quick tips that you guys have for people who maybe right now they've got self-aware enough to realize that they are dishonest with themselves. They say to themselves, oh, I'm gonna track macros today and hit my macros, and then they end up like just totally blowing it out. Or they say that they're gonna, actually build their course, but then 2 weeks later they haven't done it. What are some quick tips that you would say to those people to make sure that they can actually start following through, other than signing up for Impact 7, obviously?
First thing that came to mind was one of Elena Cardone's, in her book, she says, every decision you make, you're either building or destroying your empire, right? So just think, in every single tiny little decision you make, like drinking an extra glass of water, something so small, like you think it's, insignificant, but it adds up over time. And just also the other thing is I think sometimes you need to jump in and take a risk. And even if you're terrified, you need to, like joining Impact School, I was terrified. I didn't know how I was going to make it work. I didn't know if it was even the right thing for me. Well, I did, but it was a huge risk for me. And honestly, it's one of the best decisions I've made. And I've told you this before, Lauren, but it's just sometimes you have to leap. You have to just make that decision and commit. As Connor was saying, you have to just commit to yourself, because if you keep putting things off and off and off, you're never going to get there. And I think sometimes we do need help. You can't do what you want to do on your own completely. Like no one does what they want to do only on their own. So sometimes you do need that help, and sometimes you just need to jump in and just have faith that it will work out. And work hard, obviously. Yeah.
So I agree with that. I think if anything, this year has taught us that life is short, and you wait in a week, 2 weeks, even a few days can change the whole, I guess, aspect of your life and your business. So you kind of delaying these small tasks, especially if they will benefit you hugely in the long run. Life isn't guaranteed. Like life is short. Like with the pandemic and everything, and like all the health issues that are going on in the world right now, you can't guarantee that you'll even have a tomorrow or next week. I don't mean to be all depressing, but that's kind of how this year has taught us, just to kind of bite the bullet, carpe diem. Like you need to just commit to something. And for me as well, I was so petrified of joining Impact School because it is a bigger commitment. There's a lot of people that, you can take a risk and it doesn't pay off. And you're just left like, why did I do that? But thankfully, Impact School it is one of the best risks I've taken. And it's actually not even just developed my business, but developed me as a person as well. So if you are trying to kind of delay a task or delay kind of joining up to something, what's the point? Like nothing is guaranteed, and at least you can know you lived your life to the fullest and you really committed to yourself and your business.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Diane. And just so that everyone knows who's listening, theimpact7.com is 100% free. Everyone here has taken that next step. Like all of our multiple 6- and 7-figure clients, they book a call with us. And so if you want to book a call, I just send me a message on Instagram or LinkedIn saying the word podcast, and then I'll know that you came from this episode of the podcast, right? But what we're talking about with regards to Impact 7, to sign up, that's free. But all these people here, they booked that call by sending that message. So Connor, you want to go next?
Yeah. So all I was going to say just after what Diane was talking about really is that, she mentioned about, not knowing what's coming next or what's coming tomorrow, health-wise. But I think another perspective that I've taken this past year of 2020 has been that you never know what's going to happen when it comes to the structure of business and the structure of economies and the structure of how people want to receive services. Like that may seem like a random point, but so often I think people can be stuck in a linear point of view where they're thinking, well, my business idea wouldn't work because X and people don't need this or whatever. But, in the space of under 12 months, we've gone from a place of commuters being, absolutely, the majority, to why am I ever going to need to leave my house? Because I can do everything I ever need. It's way more cost effective, all these things. That would not have happened if it wasn't for the pandemic. And, I think that there's so much that's changed in the landscape of business now that there are so many more ideas that are viable now that would never have been possible before. And, it's just shown me that there's no limit to what you can possibly achieve. And that could be something that you would never imagine happening that changes overnight. Just like your city going into a lockdown and suddenly gyms being shut, or you're not being able to go and see your family members. We never would have thought a few years ago that this would happen. But the fact that it is just shows that you never know what's coming next. So when you are making that decision, should I commit to something? Should I go all in, and should I just see what I can achieve in a short space of time? Just go for it and figure it out later, because you can always make things work once you've committed first. And I know you talk about that all the time, but I think when you commit first, the answer will always fall at your feet if you keep doing those things and you stay consistent. It has to, because there's no other way. So I think when you burn the bridges and commit to something, whether that's a new business idea, a relationship, whatever it is you want to do in life, I think when you commit to that, especially in the business sense, it will always fall at your feet. Especially when you follow the steps of validating the idea and everything we go through. I think it's just everything's going to work out for you. So just don't be afraid of things not being perfect, because they never are, but they will fall into place when you commit.
Awesome. So Charmaine, you want to go next?
Yeah, I was going to say that I agree with Connor that a lot of times I think people want to, I mean, me included, right? Sometimes we put things on hold because we're fearful in some type of way. And I think for me, what really helps is think of the opportunities that I have. For those of you who don't know, that I actually grew up in Hong Kong, and I'm still not a citizen yet in the United States. And I remember for a long time that I couldn't work because of my circumstance. And I think, just seeing my friends, like I remember, like I was like, dude, like even if I have to work at a fast food chain, like I'd be willing. And I think, just thinking about the opportunity that's given to you, I think that is, like for me, I have another perspective of someone that didn't have so much opportunity, right? And so I think just not taking your opportunities for granted, I think that's huge, and really, making use of that opportunity to, make your own life.
Valentina, did you already go? I can't quite remember at this point. Oh, you're muted. There you go.
I'm completely focused, but what was the question?
Just sort of like, any quick tips that you have for anyone who has identified that they don't maybe have the self-discipline, or that they aren't working as hard as they need to be to actually, or even working as smart as they need to be to achieve their goals.
If you've never done something that gives you the discipline or the self-awareness that you can do something, do impact school, and for what you have to put in, you will, no matter what. Because for me, like the biggest time that I became self-disciplined and I was like, F everyone, everything, I'm gonna do something, otherwise I'll like die now, was when I started, I don't know if you know, like it's like P90X insanity, Shanti stuff. And every day you need to like write a cross of like something that you need to do. And that was the starting point for me to like commit to something. But doing impact school is a whole new level of like what like happened to me. So honestly, just join. I actually like want everyone to join impact school to like get over the BS and just live their life, and to commit to something super in the beginning scary, and like it's a big risk. There's so much investment and commitment, but your life will like shift in a week. Coming from a place of like, oh my god, I always wanted to build my business for years, and everything just happened in a short time, in a matter of like 3 weeks. I was already like having my clients, earning the most money I've ever earned ever, with good jobs. So that is my advice. And the last thing is following what Connor said. You can only connect the dots. Sorry, let's cut this and you can only connect the dots looking backwards. And I think Steve Jobs said this, and it is completely true. If you commit, okay, things will be a bit messy, but everything will fall into place. So just like do your task for the day and keep going.
Damn, Valentina, am I going to have to hire you onto the Impact School sales team now and make sure that you have a full-on team built out on your business so that... No, but for real though, thank you. And I really appreciate that. And yeah, thanks everyone for coming. Does anyone have anything else that they want to say or share with the world before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I just want to add a little personal story. So I moved to Cape Town, and then shortly after I started Impact School. And now I've obviously come home for the holidays back to Johannesburg. And, obviously I've seen family and friends. And, obviously I know that I've changed. I know that I know a lot more now, and that I've even physically changed. But I've had such odd comments from people seeing me now, like even people who I haven't met before, saying, I can't believe you know all of this. How old are you? And just things that I never knew before. And then just asking me all these questions, and people that knew the old version of me and now seeing the new version of me, in that short space of time. I mean, 10 weeks is short, and they're seeing me now and they're just really confused. And I think, just it's crazy to experience that and to know that I have transformed in so many ways, physically, emotionally, just my knowledge is just, I've just been opened up to, and it sounds so cliche, but it's true. I've transformed in so many ways, and yeah, it's amazing.
Wow, that's awesome. Charmaine, what were you gonna say?
I want to say one thing is, don't cheat yourself, because I think that's one thing that, a lot of people don't think about is, at the more time they waste, they're cheating on themselves. And I, wish I started way earlier, building my own business with Impact School. Lauren's 23, and I was like, dang, like I should have started this earlier. But I think at the end of the day, like you only live once, right? Like I really would encourage you to, like this is your life, like it's what you make it, and don't cheat yourself, and respect yourself as well.
Awesome. That's amazing. Well, everyone, thank you so much for coming. I'm leaving everyone's links so that you can go follow every single person on social media. Do you guys quickly want to just push through and say your Instagram handle just to everyone can do it while they're listening. So Charmaine, you want to go first real quick?
Mine is Lean on Plans.
Okay, perfect. Connor?
Yeah, so mine's at Connor Tyson _PT.
Katerina?
Mine's Katerina Sakoshek.
You want to spell that for the people?
Yeah, I think so. So Katerina is just with a K, Katarina. And my surname, okay, be patient with me. It's Sakoschek. So just my name and surname, Katerina Sakoshek.
Awesome. Valentina, how about you?
Okay, mine is my name. It's at Valentina Antolini, and I connected the two A's, and that's how creative I got with it. So VALENTINANTOLLINI.
Okay, awesome. We're gonna leave them all linked anyways. Steve doesn't really use Instagram, neither does Diane so much, but I'm gonna force Diane to start using it. So Diane, what's yours?
Holistic Rehab Clinic. So at Holistic Rehab Clinic.
Perfect. There we go. Awesome. So Steve, you can connect with him on LinkedIn, Steve Cronin. And thanks everyone for coming. I'm grateful for you all, everyone listening. Make sure to send me a message, literally just saying the word podcast, or if you're American, podcast, then hopefully you can understand me a bit better. I've had that conversation many times where people don't understand. And then we can have a chat about how we can get you on a call to see how you can become a client, just like all of these lovely people here. And to build that self-discipline, to build that motivation, sign up to theimpact7.com. You'll begin to build these personality traits that have allowed our clients here to be successful. I'm grateful to have had this conversation with you guys. So anyways, all right, guys, thank you so much for coming, and I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you.